Hello and welcome once again to Pray on This. I'm your host, John Pray. And before we begin today's discussion, if you're liking the content of my channel, then hit the like button and subscribe. Today we're going to talk about Chrystia Freeland and political ethics. I have avoided political ethics as the main topic of discussion. I've alluded to it, danced around it, have at times pointed out single breaches of ethics. However, the last week has shown the stark contrast in what politicians with ethics, integrity, honor, and respect for the office they hold do when their ethically questionable behavior comes to light, versus what spoiled, entitled, morally questionable politicians devoid of all honor and integrity do when their misdeeds come to the light of day. We have Chrystia Freeland to thank for today's topic. When asked about the resignation of John Tory, the two-term and newly elected to a third-term mayor of Toronto resigned last Friday for an extramarital affair with a staff member in his office. Her comments supported Tory's decision to resign as mayor due to the inappropriate relationship the 68-year-old Tory had with a female staff member 37 years his junior. She was steadfast in her comments that he made a serious mistake and lack of judgment, that his resignation was the proper and right thing to do. Those are strong words, and I for once agree with Ms. Freeland. But just one moment there, Ms. Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Heir Apparent. What about the scandals within your own house? The list is long, and forgive me if I miss any, but here goes. Justin Trudeau, found guilty of 4 ethics violations for taking a gift of a family vacation from the Aga Khan. Well, the Aga Khan lobbied the government for millions of dollars to support his charity. One breach of using political interference against the former Attorney General in the SNC-Lavalin criminal case. Narrowly missed another guilty verdict in the We charity scandal, not because he wasn't dirty, but because the law is so poorly written. Has worn blackface, brownface, and questionable costumes more times than he can remember, and when it came to the light of day that a young female reporter stated that he had name-dropped he was the son of a former prime minister and had groped her in an unwanted, unsolicited sexual manner, he said she experienced it differently. Greg Fergus, guilty of using the influence of his office as a parliamentary secretary to place illegal influence upon the CRTC. Mary Ning, guilty of giving government sole source contract to a personal friend at the obscene rate of $2,000 an hour for one-on-one media training over Zoom. Dominic LeBlanc, guilty of giving a sole source government fisheries contract to a company with personal connections to his cousin. Bill Marneau, guilty of ethics violations in the We charity scandal. Raj Grewal, charged by the RCMP for 4 breaches of trust and 1 count of fraud over $5,000 while in office, convicted of 2 of them. Marwa Tabera, investigated for sexual harassment by the party, charged with assault, break and enter, pled guilty to 2 counts of illegally being in a dwelling. This was all known to the party in 2019, and that charges would be coming. But they still allowed the man to seek re-election under their banner. Stephen Guilbeault is a convicted criminal prior to seeking public office. You can say it was a victimless crime designed to raise awareness about the environment and the folly of youth. He was a grown man of 31 years of age, and he knew he was breaking the law. David McNaughton, Justin Trudeau's appointed ambassador to the United States, illegally lobbied members of the Trudeau Liberal government after his term as ambassador to the U.S. ended, to the point that Ms. Freeland and 8 other senior members of cabinet were ordered by the ethics commissioner not to have any formal contact with Mr. McNaughton for a year. This doesn't even include possible breaches of ethics that could be coming. Justin Trudeau, Bill Marneau, and Marco Mendicino putting pressure for partisan political purposes on the Nova Scotia active mass casualty investigation by the RCMP. Brenda Lucki, Justin Trudeau's appointed Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, ordering her officers to release information in that active RCMP investigation at the request of the Public Safety Minister and the Prime Minister's office. This is only a possible breach as no investigation has officially been started. However, we have Ms. Lucki's own recorded voice saying these very things. Ahmed Hussein giving a sole source contract to a family member. He also doubled down during question period, saying that he would still award the contract even if it is very questionable. Marco Mendicino telling outright lies and willingly misleading Parliament. Marco Mendicino again, at a press conference in support of the now withdrawn Bill C-21, said that Marc Lépine, the mass murderer who killed 14 women at Polytechnique de Montréal on December 6, 1989, was apprehended because of the gun registry that the Conservative Party of Canada scrapped when they were in government. When pointed out by a reporter that Marc Lépine committed suicide at the time of the shooting before police confronted him, and it was also pointed out that the gun registry of which Mendicino spoke of was not made law until 1993, so it would not have even been possible for it to be used, Mendicino stammered, doubled down on his lies, then tried to make the reporter look like an uncaring person by standing on the graves of the murdered women. This man no longer knows what the truth or reality is. The ethics of the current federal Liberal government are so bad that the retiring ethics commissioner Mario Dion wants to have mandatory ethics training for all current Liberal MPs. We, the Canadian people, have become so numb to the corruption in Ottawa that we don't even seem to care anymore about the next government scandal. Out of these 16 proven factual events and at least 7 possible ethics breaches to date, and let us not forget that at the time of this recording, the Emergencies Act inquiry is due to make public its findings at noon Eastern Standard Time, February 17th, 2023. There has been only 1 resignation and 2 decide not to seek re-election. 1 resignation, and it was for the ethics violation. The 2 members who were convicted of the criminal code sat as MPs until their term ended. I'm left with 3 questions, each to very different people. The first is to the Liberals, with the exception of Bill Marneau. You Liberals who did not resign from, at minimum, cabinet, have you no ethics, morals, or integrity? Bev Oda, in the previous Conservative government, resigned because on an official government trip, she charged her breakfast orange juice to the Canadian taxpayer. It was $16. Mary Ning spent $20,000 to have 2 Zoom chats lasting a total of 8 hours with 1 hour prep time for each chat with her best friend. To her boss, Justin Trudeau, and Ms. Ning, it was a learning experience. The second question is to the Liberal voters, those Canadians who in 2019 and 2021 supported this corruption with your vote, and are still either going to or are considering supporting this Prime Minister and his government's corruption in the next federal election. What do they have to do to prove to you that they're not worthy of being entrusted to gather your mail, feed your cat, and make sure that your home is secure while you're away on vacation, let alone govern our country? Finally, Chrystia Freeland, Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, Minister of Finance of Canada, Deputy Leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. On what moral high horse do you believe that you sit, that you can pass judgment on a man who was lonely, displayed a serious lack of moral fortitude and judgment for engaging in a mutually consensual sexual relationship outside of his marriage with a staff member half his age, when you will willingly put up with extremely questionable ethics, morals, integrity, and honor in the very party and government of which you are the deputy leader of. I have no problem with John Tory resigning. That's what men and women with integrity, honor, and respect for the office they hold do when they make a serious mistake and breach the trust placed in them. He made the right choice, and perhaps his example will inspire integrity within our elected officials again. However, I will not stand by when a woman like Chrystia Freeland sits in her bully pulpit and passes judgment on a man who made a mistake in his personal life, while saying nothing about the 16 proven, 7 suspected, and God only knows how many more moral, ethical, and criminal breaches of public trust the very party and government she is the second in command of have committed since October of 2015 and will continue to commit until they are defeated from office. It is the most extreme case of hypocrisy I have ever witnessed in my life. Ms. Freeland, if you will speak against those on the other team for their failings, but cover up or ignore by sticking your head in the sand the same or far worse failings by your own team's multiple violations, your complicity makes you just as guilty as if you had committed the acts yourself. Perhaps, Chrystia, you should do the honorable thing and resign in protest, disgust, and the lack of integrity displayed by your fellow Liberal MPs, cabinet members, and your leader, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. That, as always, is Pray on This.